In the heart of occupied Belgium, where the cobblestone streets of Brussels echoed with the footsteps of both citizens and soldiers, a remarkable story of courage and defiance began to unfold. It was 1943, a year marked by the oppressive weight of Nazi occupation, as the Gestapo, the feared secret police of the Third Reich, patrolled the city with an iron fist. The Belgian resistance, a disparate collection of brave souls, was viewed by the occupiers as a minor annoyance, a group of idealists lacking the resources and coordination necessary to mount a serious challenge against the German military machine. Yet, beneath this veneer of complacency lay a brewing storm, a plan so audacious that it would soon shake the foundations of the Gestapo's confidence. The Belgian resistance had been quietly gathering strength, fueled by the relentless spirit of a population unwilling to accept subjugation. Among the many strategies being devised, one stood out for its ingenuity: the use of dairy deliveries as a cover for a daring escape from the heavily fortified Saint-Gilles prison. This prison, located in the bustling neighborhood of Saint-Gilles, housed numerous political prisoners, including resistance fighters and Allied airmen who had been shot down over enemy territory. The plan was simple yet brilliant: to use the everyday activity of milk deliveries to smuggle essential tools for escape into the prison, all while evading the watchful eyes of the Gestapo. When the resistance began to lay the groundwork for this operation, they were acutely aware of the risks involved. The Gestapo, notorious for their ruthless efficiency and brutal reprisals, had a long history of quelling dissent. Any misstep could lead to dire consequences, not just for the participants but for the wider civilian population as well. Yet the potential rewards of a successful escape were immense. Freeing the prisoners would not only be a significant blow to German morale but would also serve as a rallying cry for the Belgian people, igniting a flame of resistance that had been smoldering beneath the surface. The resistance prepared for a confrontation between the audacity of the resistance and the arrogance of the occupiers. As 1943 drew to a close, the Gestapo remained blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath their noses. The milk deliveries would soon become a symbol of hope and defiance, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of oppression. To fully understand the significance of the milk deliveries and the audacious escape plan, it is essential to delve into the broader context of Belgium during World War II. Following the German invasion in May 1940, Belgium was swiftly occupied, and the country was thrust into a harsh reality of military rule. The Belgian people, once proud of their rich cultural heritage and democratic values, found themselves living under a regime that sought to suppress their identity and autonomy. The Gestapo's presence in Belgium was a constant reminder of the regime's brutality. Their operations were characterized by surveillance, intimidation, and violence. They employed a network of informants and collaborators, creating an atmosphere of fear that stifled dissent. Yet, despite this oppressive environment, pockets of resistance began to emerge. Ordinary citizens, motivated by a sense of duty to their country and a desire for freedom, formed clandestine networks to oppose the occupiers. Daily life in occupied Belgium was marked by scarcity and hardship. Rationing of food and essential goods became the norm, and the black market flourished as people sought to survive. The once bustling streets of Brussels were now patrolled by German soldiers, and the sound of marching boots echoed ominously through the city. The Belgian populace, however, found ways to resist the occupation in small yet significant ways. Acts of defiance, such as displaying the Belgian flag or distributing anti-German propaganda, became symbols of resilience. Within this context, the resistance began to organize more effectively. Groups like the Comet Line emerged, dedicated to aiding downed Allied airmen in their escape from occupied territories. This network, composed of brave civilians, utilized their intimate knowledge of the local geography to create safe routes and hideouts. The Comet Line's operations were characterized by a spirit of cooperation, as individuals from various backgrounds came together to support a common cause. Teachers, farmers, shopkeepers, and students all played a role, demonstrating that resistance was not limited to armed conflict but encompassed a wide array of actions aimed at undermining the occupiers. By the time the resistance gained momentum, they began to devise more ambitious plans. The idea of using dairy deliveries as a cover for smuggling escape tools into Saint-Gilles prison was born out of necessity and creativity. The dairy industry was a vital part of daily life in Brussels, with deliveries occurring regularly and going largely unnoticed by the Gestapo. By leveraging this mundane aspect of life, the resistance sought to mask their extraordinary actions. The logistics of the operation were complex and required meticulous planning. Resistance members had to identify sympathetic dairy workers who could be trusted to carry out the plan without arousing suspicion. These individuals, often risking their own safety, became integral to the success of the operation. The resistance also had to forge documents to ensure that the dairy trucks could pass through checkpoints without incident. This level of detail showcased the determination and resourcefulness of the resistance, as they worked tirelessly to turn the tide against their oppressors. As 1943 approached, the resistance prepared for a confrontation that would test the limits of courage and ingenuity. The Gestapo, still underestimating the capabilities of the resistance, remained focused on larger military operations, oblivious to the brewing storm within their own ranks. The audacity of the milk deliveries would soon challenge their complacency and reveal the resilience of the Belgian spirit. The morning of March 16, 1943, dawned cold and clear over Brussels. The city, still under the oppressive weight of occupation, went about its daily routine, unaware of the drama about to unfold. For the Belgian resistance, this was the day of reckoning. Months of planning and preparation had led to this moment, and the stakes could not have been higher. During the dairy trucks rumbled through the streets of Brussels, tension hung in the air. The couriers, aware of the risks, maintained a facade of calm as they approached the checkpoints. The Gestapo, still mocking the idea of such an operation, allowed the trucks to pass with little scrutiny. This oversight, born of arrogance, would soon haunt them. Inside Saint-Gilles prison, the prisoners awaited their moment. They had been briefed on the plan, and though the details were sparse, they understood the importance of timing. As the dairy trucks arrived at the prison gates, the operation began in earnest. The couriers, with practiced efficiency, delivered the milk churns containing the hidden saw blades to the designated drop points within the prison. The prisoners, seizing the opportunity, retrieved the tools and set to work. The sound of metal on metal, muffled by the thick prison walls, marked the beginning of their escape. The operation unfolded with a mix of urgency and precision, as the resistance members outside coordinated the escape with those inside. The sight of prisoners emerging from the shadows of the prison caught the guards off guard, leading to confusion and panic. In a matter of minutes, 80 prisoners slipped through the cracks of the German security net, disappearing into the streets of Brussels. The Gestapo, realizing the scale of the operation, scrambled to respond. Their disbelief quickly turned to anger as they launched a frantic search for the escapees and those who had aided them. The escape was a triumph of ingenuity and bravery, a testament to the resilience of the Belgian resistance. It was a moment that would inspire not only those directly involved but also countless others across occupied Europe. The Gestapo, formerly so dismissive of the resistance, had faced the sobering reality of their capabilities. As the dust settled, the implications of the escape began to take shape. The Gestapo, humiliated and enraged, intensified their efforts to crush the resistance. Yet, the operation had already achieved its primary goal. It has shown the world that the Belgian spirit was unyielding, that even in the darkest of times, hope and defiance could prevail. The prisoners who had escaped were not merely fleeing for their lives, they were reclaiming their dignity and agency. Each one of them carried with them the stories of their struggles, the sacrifices made by their families, and the dreams of a free Belgium. As they navigated the streets, they were acutely aware of the risks they faced, not just from the Gestapo but also from the pervasive atmosphere of fear that had gripped the city. The escapees quickly dispersed into pre-arranged safe houses, where they were met by resistance members who had been waiting for this moment. The network of support that had been established over months of planning now sprang into action, providing food, clothing, and new identities to those who had just tasted freedom. The escapees were welcomed as heroes. They became symbols of hope for a beleaguered populace. Meanwhile, the Gestapo's response was swift and brutal. They launched a city-wide manhunt, establishing roadblocks and checkpoints throughout Brussels. The streets that had been filled with the sounds of life now echoed with the shouts of German soldiers and the clatter of boots on cobblestones. The Gestapo's humiliation transformed into a desperate rage, and they resorted to draconian measures to regain control. Raids were conducted in neighborhoods known to harbor resistance sympathizers, and many innocent civilians found themselves caught in the crossfire. The atmosphere in Brussels shifted dramatically. The escape had ignited a spark of defiance among the population. Whispers of the audacious operation spread quickly, and the news of the escapees' successful flight became a rallying cry for those who had long felt powerless under the weight of occupation. People began to openly discuss the possibility of resistance, emboldened by the knowledge that their fellow citizens had dared to challenge the occupiers. As the Gestapo intensified their crackdown, the resistance members remained vigilant. They understood that the escape had not only freed 80 prisoners but had also exposed the vulnerabilities in the German security apparatus. The operation had demonstrated that the Gestapo, despite their reputation for ruthlessness, could be outsmarted. This realization fueled the determination of the resistance to continue their fight, even in the face of increased danger. In the days following the escape, the Gestapo's frustration grew. They were unable to recapture the majority of the escapees, and their efforts to dismantle the resistance networks were met with increasing resistance from the civilian population. The very people they sought to intimidate began to push back, providing shelter and support to those who had escaped. The Gestapo's authority, once seemingly unassailable, began to waver under the weight of public defiance. The escape from Saint-Gilles prison had far-reaching implications. It not only liberated a significant number of political prisoners but also galvanized the resistance movement across Belgium. The operation became a symbol of hope, a testament to the courage and ingenuity of ordinary citizens who refused to accept the status quo. The success of the escape inspired other resistance groups to take similar risks, leading to a wave of sabotage operations and intelligence gathering that would further undermine the German war effort. As the resistance gained momentum, the Gestapo found themselves in a precarious position. Their once unquestioned control over Brussels was now challenged by a growing network of defiance. The escape from Saint-Gilles had shifted the dynamics of the occupation, revealing cracks in the facade of German authority. The resistance, emboldened by their success, began to operate with greater audacity, launching operations that would disrupt German supply lines and communication networks. The aftermath of the escape also had a profound impact on the prisoners who had been freed. In time, many of them found themselves reinvigorated by their newfound freedom. They were determined to continue the fight, to contribute to the resistance in any way they could. Their experiences in prison had only strengthened their resolve, and they quickly integrated into the resistance networks, sharing their knowledge and skills with others. As the weeks turned into months, the enduring legacy of the escape from Saint-Gilles began to take shape. It became a defining moment in the history of the Belgian resistance, a testament to the power of collective action and the spirit of those who dared to resist. The operation was not merely a tactical victory, it was a profound statement of defiance against tyranny. In the broader context of World War II, the escape from Saint-Gilles served as a microcosm of the larger struggle against fascism. It highlighted the critical role of resistance movements in undermining the occupiers and supporting the Allied war effort. The operation was a reminder that Norway's fight for freedom was not solely the domain of armies and governments but was also waged by ordinary citizens who refused to accept tyranny. As the dust settled on March 16, 1943, the effect of the escape continued to reverberate throughout Brussels and beyond. The resistance had proven that they could strike a decisive blow against the occupiers, and the courage displayed by those involved in the operation inspired countless others to join the fight. The Gestapo's underestimation of the resistance would no longer be a source of confidence. It had become a lesson in humility. The escape from Saint-Gilles was not just a moment in time, it was a turning point in the struggle for freedom. It rekindled hope in the hearts of those who had long suffered under occupation and ignited a flame of resistance that would continue to burn brightly in the months and years to come. The audacity of the plan, executed under the noses of the Gestapo, would forever be remembered as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of oppression. The dawn of March 16, 1943, broke with a biting chill in the air, a typical morning in Brussels during the waning days of winter. The city, under the oppressive thumb of the German occupation, stirred to life as its inhabitants went about their daily routines, unaware of the extraordinary events about to unfold. At the heart of this unfolding drama was the Saint-Gilles prison, a foreboding fortress where the Gestapo held numerous resistance fighters and political prisoners. For months, these prisoners had clung to whispers of hope, tales of an audacious plan hatched by their compatriots on the outside. Today, that hope would be tested. As the clock ticked towards the appointed hour, the Resistance's dairy trucks rumbled through the cobblestone streets of Brussels. Laden with their clandestine cargo, saw blades ingeniously concealed within milk churns, the trucks approached the prison gates. The drivers, resistance members themselves, maintained an air of calm, their forged documents ready for inspection. The Gestapo guards, accustomed to the routine deliveries, barely glanced at the papers before waving the trucks through. The mocking laughter of the Gestapo, dismissive of any threat from the resistance, echoed in the minds of the couriers as they drove into the belly of the beast. Inside Saint-Gilles, the prisoners were a bundle of nerves and anticipation. They had been briefed on the plan, knowing that the success of the operation hinged on precise timing and coordination. As the dairy trucks parked within the prison grounds, the prisoners moved into action. With the tools smuggled in by the resistance, they began the painstaking work of cutting through their restraints and the iron bars that held them captive. The sound of metal on metal was a symphony of defiance, each stroke a step closer to freedom. Outside, the resistance members maintained their vigil, ready to spring into action at the first sign of trouble. The tension was palpable, a taut wire stretched to its breaking point. As the first prisoners emerged from the shadows, the plan's audacity became clear. The guards, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of escapees, were thrown into disarray. Confusion reigned as prisoners poured out of the prison, their numbers swelling with each passing moment. In the chaos, the Gestapo's derision turned to disbelief. The scale of the operation was staggering, a testament to the resistance's ingenuity and resolve. As the prisoners fled into the streets of Brussels, the Gestapo scrambled to respond, their authority challenged in the most public of ways. The escapees, aided by resistance members stationed throughout the city, melted into the urban landscape, disappearing into safe houses and sympathetic neighborhoods. The escape from Saint-Gilles was a resounding success. In time, 80 prisoners tasted the sweet air of freedom. The operation, executed with precision and daring, was a blow to the occupiers, a stark reminder of the resistance's strength and determination. As the sun set on that fateful day, the streets of Brussels buzzed with the news of the escape, a beacon of hope in a city shrouded in darkness. The immediate aftermath of the escape was a flurry of activity, both within the Gestapo's ranks and among the resistance. For the German occupiers, the escape was an embarrassment of monumental proportions. The Gestapo, known for its ruthless efficiency, had been outwitted by a group they had long underestimated. The response was swift and severe. A massive manhunt was launched, with checkpoints established throughout Brussels and neighboring regions. The Gestapo, desperate to regain control, intensified their efforts to track down the escapees and dismantle the resistance networks that had orchestrated the operation. For the resistance, the successful escape was a triumph, a validation of their efforts and a rallying cry for continued defiance. The operation had not only freed their comrades but had also struck a blow against the occupiers' morale. The escape became a symbol of hope and resilience, inspiring other resistance groups across Belgium to take similar risks. The audacity of the plan, executed under the noses of the Gestapo, emboldened the resistance, fueling their determination to continue the fight. The civilian population, too, was galvanized by the escape. The news spread quickly, whispered from one household to the next, a beacon of defiance in a city under siege. The courage displayed by the resistance resonated deeply with the people of Brussels, many of whom had suffered under the occupation. The escape became a catalyst for increased support for the resistance, with civilians providing shelter, resources, and information to aid their efforts. The Gestapo's response was brutal. Raids and arrests became commonplace as they sought to root out those responsible for the escape. The crackdown was indiscriminate, with many innocent civilians caught in the dragnet. Yet, despite the increased pressure, the resistance remained resolute. The escape had proven that the occupiers were not invincible, that their grip on power could be challenged. In the weeks following the escape, the Gestapo's frustration grew. Despite their efforts, many of the escapees remained at large, sheltered by the very population they sought to control. The resistance, buoyed by their success, continued to operate in the shadows, planning new operations and striking at the occupiers whenever possible. The escape from Saint-Gilles had shifted the dynamics of the occupation, a turning point in the struggle for freedom. The escape from Saint-Gilles marked a pivotal moment in the evolution of the Belgian resistance. With newfound confidence, resistance networks expanded their operations, launching more daring missions against the German forces. The success of the escape had demonstrated the power of coordinated action, inspiring a wave of solidarity and cooperation among disparate resistance groups. The Comet Line, one of the most effective escape networks, saw a surge in activity. Their efforts to smuggle downed Allied airmen out of occupied Europe intensified, with new routes and safe houses established across Belgium and into France. The escape from Saint-Gilles had shown that the impossible was achievable, and the Comet Line's operatives took heart from this lesson, redoubling their efforts to aid the Allied cause. The Gestapo, now acutely aware of the resistance's capabilities, adopted a more cautious approach. The days of dismissing the resistance as a minor nuisance were over. The occupiers, once confident in their control, found themselves engaged in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. The resistance, emboldened by their success, became more audacious in their operations, striking at the occupiers with increasing frequency and precision. This shift in dynamics heightened the stakes for both sides. The Gestapo intensified their surveillance and infiltration efforts, seeking to dismantle the resistance from within. Yet, the resistance proved resilient, adapting to the changing circumstances and employing new tactics to evade capture. The struggle became one of wits and wool, a battle fought in the shadows of occupied Belgium. The escape also fostered a deeper sense of solidarity among the Belgian people. The courage displayed by the resistance resonated deeply, inspiring civilians to take greater risks in support of the cause. The lines between resistance fighter and civilian blurred, as more and more Belgians became involved in the struggle, whether by providing shelter, information, or direct assistance. As 1943 progressed, the resistance's efforts bore fruit. Sabotage operations disrupted German supply lines, while intelligence gathered by the resistance proved invaluable to the Allies. The escape from Saint-Gilles had sparked a transformation, a shift in the balance of power that would have lasting implications for the course of the war in Belgium. In the years following the war, the account of the milk deliveries and the escape from Saint-Gilles became etched into the annals of Belgian history. The operation, a masterstroke of ingenuity and courage, was celebrated as a defining moment in the resistance's struggle against tyranny. The escape was not merely a tactical victory, it was a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who dared to resist. The enduring legacy of the escape was profound. Memorials and commemorations were established to honor those who participated in the operation, ensuring that their bravery would not be forgotten. The story was passed down through generations, a reminder of the power of collective action and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of oppression. For the survivors, the escape was a defining moment in their lives. Many of the escapees went on to play significant roles in the post-war reconstruction of Belgium, their experiences during the occupation shaping their contributions to the nation's future. The bonds forged in the crucible of resistance endured, a testament to the camaraderie and solidarity that had sustained them through the darkest days of the war. The effect of the escape extended beyond Belgium's borders. The operation served as an inspiration to resistance movements across Europe, a beacon of hope for those fighting against the Axis powers. The audacity and success of the escape demonstrated that even the most formidable obstacles could be overcome with determination and ingenuity. In the broader context of the war, the escape from Saint-Gilles was a microcosm of the larger struggle against fascism. It highlighted the critical role of resistance movements in undermining the occupiers and supporting the Allied war effort. The operation was a reminder that Norway's fight for freedom was not solely the domain of armies and governments but was also waged by ordinary citizens who refused to accept tyranny. As the dust settled on March 16, 1943, the enduring legacy of the escape from Saint-Gilles continued to inspire. It became a symbol of hope and defiance, a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity. The legacy of this audacious operation endures, a beacon for future generations and a reminder of the courage and resilience of those who stood against oppression. The immediate aftermath of the escape from Saint-Gilles reverberated through the streets of Brussels and beyond, setting in motion a series of events that would reshape the landscape of resistance in occupied Belgium. The audacity of the operation not only liberated 80 prisoners but also dealt a significant blow to the morale of the German occupiers. The Gestapo, once seen as an omnipotent force, found themselves grappling with the reality that their authority could be challenged by a network of civilians united in defiance. In the days following the escape, the Gestapo's response was swift and brutal. They launched an extensive manhunt, deploying their resources in a desperate bid to recapture the escapees and dismantle the resistance networks that had orchestrated the operation. Checkpoints were established throughout Brussels, and the atmosphere of fear and paranoia intensified as the occupiers sought to regain control. The Gestapo's tactics included house-to-house searches, interrogations, and widespread arrests, targeting not only known resistance members but also ordinary citizens suspected of harboring sympathies for the escapees. The consequences of the escape were felt acutely within the resistance itself. While the successful operation had emboldened many, it also raised moral dilemmas that weighed heavily on those involved. The Gestapo's retaliatory measures led to the arrest and execution of numerous resistance members and innocent civilians alike, creating a chilling atmosphere of fear. The resistance had to grapple with the ethical implications of their actions. Was the risk of collateral damage worth the potential gains? Could they justify the suffering inflicted upon innocent families in the name of liberation? Despite these moral quandaries, the escape galvanized the Belgian population. News of the daring operation spread quickly, igniting a spark of hope in a city long shrouded in despair. The courage displayed by the resistance became a rallying cry, inspiring civilians to take greater risks in support of the cause. Many began to view the resistance not merely as a collection of fighters but as a movement that represented the collective will of the Belgian people. The lines between resistance fighter and civilian blurred, as more individuals stepped forward to provide shelter, resources, and information to aid their efforts. In the weeks that followed, the Gestapo's frustration grew. Despite their extensive manhunt, many of the escapees remained at large, sheltered by the very population they sought to control. The resistance, buoyed by their success, continued to operate in the shadows, planning new operations and striking at the occupiers whenever possible. The escape from Saint-Gilles had shifted the dynamics of the occupation, a turning point in the struggle for freedom. The consequences of the escape extended beyond immediate reprisals. The operation had a profound impact on the morale of both the occupiers and the occupied. For the Gestapo, the escape was a humiliation that shattered their illusion of invincibility. They were forced to confront the reality that their grip on power was not as secure as they had believed. The escapees, now symbols of resistance, inspired others to take up arms against their oppressors, and the resistance movement began to flourish in ways previously thought impossible. As the Gestapo intensified their efforts to crush the resistance, the Belgian people responded with resilience. The escape from Saint-Gilles became a symbol of hope and defiance, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit could prevail. The resistance's success in executing such a daring operation instilled a sense of purpose among the populace, leading to increased support for their efforts. Civilians began to see themselves as active participants in the struggle for liberation, rather than passive observers of their own oppression. The moral dilemmas faced by the resistance members were not easily resolved. Many grappled with the consequences of their actions, questioning whether the ends justified the means. As the Gestapo's reprisals escalated, the resistance was forced to make difficult choices. Some members advocated for a more cautious approach, arguing that the risks to innocent civilians were too great. Others, fueled by the urgency of their cause, pushed for more aggressive tactics, believing that the only way to achieve liberation was through bold and decisive action. Ultimately, the escape from Saint-Gilles became a catalyst for change within the resistance. It prompted a re-evaluation of strategies and tactics, leading to a more coordinated and unified approach among various resistance groups. The success of the operation demonstrated that collaboration and solidarity were essential in the face of overwhelming odds. The moral complexities of resistance were acknowledged, but the urgency of the struggle for freedom overshadowed individual concerns. The escape had ignited a fire that could not be extinguished, and the resistance was determined to continue the fight, no matter the cost. As the months passed, the consequences of the escape continued to unfold. The Gestapo's efforts to suppress the resistance only served to strengthen their resolve. The brutality of their reprisals galvanized support for the resistance, as more civilians became involved in the struggle. The escape from Saint-Gilles had not only liberated prisoners but had also awakened a collective consciousness among the Belgian people, igniting a movement that would prove resilient in the face of adversity. The aftermath of the escape from Saint-Gilles marked a transformative period for the Belgian resistance, reshaping its dynamics and redefining the relationship between the occupiers and the occupied. The successful operation had not only liberated 80 prisoners but had also catalyzed a broader movement that would challenge the very foundations of Nazi control in Belgium. The escape became a symbol of hope, resilience, and defiance, inspiring a wave of activism and solidarity among the Belgian populace. In the wake of the escape, the resistance networks expanded their operations, launching more daring missions against the German forces. The success of the Saint-Gilles operation demonstrated the power of coordinated action, prompting various resistance groups to collaborate more closely. The Comet Line, which had already been instrumental in aiding downed Allied airmen, saw a surge in activity. They established new routes and safe houses, intensifying their efforts to smuggle not only airmen but also resistance fighters and civilians seeking refuge from the Gestapo's wrath. The transformation within the resistance was profound. The escape from Saint-Gilles had shattered the illusion of German invincibility, instilling a sense of empowerment among the Belgian people. Ordinary citizens began to see themselves as active participants in the struggle for liberation, stepping forward to support the resistance in various ways. The lines between resistance fighter and civilian blurred, as more individuals provided shelter, resources, and intelligence to aid the cause. This newfound solidarity became a cornerstone of the resistance movement, reinforcing the idea that liberation was a collective endeavor. However, the transformation was not without its challenges. The Gestapo, now acutely aware of the resistance's capabilities, adopted a more aggressive approach to suppress dissent. The days of dismissing the resistance as a minor nuisance were over. The occupiers intensified their surveillance and infiltration efforts, seeking to dismantle the resistance from within. The stakes were raised, and the struggle became one of wits and wool, a battle fought in the shadows of occupied Belgium. The moral dilemmas faced by resistance members became more pronounced in this new context. As the Gestapo escalated their reprisals, the resistance had to grapple with the ethical implications of their actions. The risk of collateral damage loomed large, as innocent civilians continued to bear the brunt of the occupiers' wrath. Many resistance members found themselves questioning the justification for their actions, struggling to reconcile their commitment to liberation with the potential harm inflicted upon their fellow citizens. Despite these challenges, the resistance remained resolute. The escape from Saint-Gilles had proven that the impossible could be achieved, and the audacity of the operation inspired a renewed sense of purpose among resistance fighters. They adapted their tactics, employing guerrilla warfare and sabotage to disrupt German operations. The resistance became more agile and elusive, striking at the occupiers with increasing frequency and precision. As 1943 progressed, the resistance's efforts bore fruit. Sabotage operations disrupted German supply lines, while intelligence gathered by the resistance proved invaluable to the Allies. The escape from Saint-Gilles had sparked a transformation, a shift in the balance of power that would have lasting implications for the course of the war in Belgium. The resistance's successes began to resonate beyond the borders of Belgium, inspiring similar movements across occupied Europe. The aftermath of the escape also fostered a deeper sense of solidarity among the Belgian people. The courage displayed by the resistance resonated deeply, inspiring civilians to take greater risks in support of the cause. The escape became a catalyst for increased support for the resistance, with civilians providing shelter, resources, and information to aid their efforts. The moral complexities of resistance were acknowledged, but the urgency of the struggle for freedom overshadowed individual concerns. As the resistance evolved, so too did its relationship with the Allies. The success of the escape from Saint-Gilles caught the attention of Allied intelligence, who recognized the potential of the Belgian resistance as a valuable asset in the fight against the Axis powers. Increased communication and coordination between the resistance and Allied forces began to take shape, leading to more strategic operations aimed at undermining German control. The transformation within the resistance was not without its sacrifices. Many resistance members faced the ultimate price for their commitment to the cause, as the Gestapo intensified their efforts to root out dissent. Yet, the enduring legacy of the escape from Saint-Gilles served as a reminder of the power of collective action and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of oppression. The struggle for liberation continued, fueled by the belief that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter the cost. While the war dragged on, the lessons learned from the escape became ingrained in the fabric of the resistance movement. The importance of unity, collaboration, and moral clarity became guiding principles for those who fought against tyranny. The escape from Saint-Gilles had not only liberated prisoners but had also awakened a collective consciousness among the Belgian people, igniting a movement that would prove resilient in the face of adversity. In the broader context of the war, the escape from Saint-Gilles served as a microcosm of the larger struggle against fascism. It highlighted the critical role of resistance movements in undermining the occupiers and supporting the Allied war effort. The operation was a reminder that Norway's fight for freedom was not solely the domain of armies and governments but was also waged by ordinary citizens who refused to accept tyranny. As the months turned into years, the enduring legacy of the escape from Saint-Gilles continued to inspire. It became a symbol of hope and defiance, a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity. The transformation within the resistance, fueled by the courage and determination of those who dared to resist, would leave an indelible mark on the history of Belgium and the broader struggle for liberation across Europe. In the years following the of World War II, the account of the milk deliveries and the audacious escape from Saint-Gilles prison became a cornerstone of Belgian national identity. The operation, marked by its ingenuity and courage, was celebrated as a defining moment in the resistance's struggle against Nazi tyranny. It served not only as a tactical victory, but also as a testament to the spirit of those who dared to defy oppression. As Belgium began to rebuild in the aftermath of the war, efforts to commemorate the bravery of those involved in the Saint-Gilles escape took shape. Memorials were erected in various locations throughout Brussels, serving as poignant reminders of the sacrifices made during the occupation. One of the most notable memorials was established near the site of the prison itself, where plaques bearing the names of the escapees and resistance fighters were installed. These memorials became places of reflection, where citizens could pay their respects and honor the legacy of those who fought for freedom. In addition to physical memorials, the account of the escape was immortalized in literature and film. Authors and filmmakers sought to capture the essence of the resistance movement, with the Saint-Gilles escape often featured as a central narrative. Documentaries were produced, detailing the planning and execution of the operation, while fictionalized accounts brought the story to life for new generations. These artistic interpretations served to educate the public about the importance of resistance and the sacrifices made during the war. Schools incorporated the story into their curricula, ensuring that young Belgians understood the significance of the resistance movement and the lessons learned from the escape. The tale of the milk deliveries became a part of the national consciousness, a narrative that fostered pride and unity among the Belgian people. It was a story that transcended the boundaries of age and background, resonating with anyone who valued freedom and justice. The enduring legacy of the Saint-Gilles escape extended far beyond mere commemoration. It had profound implications for the social and political landscape of post-war Belgium. The operation served as a catalyst for a broader discussion about the role of ordinary citizens in the fight against tyranny. The bravery displayed by the resistance fighters inspired a generation to take an active role in shaping their society, leading to increased civic engagement and a commitment to democratic values. In the years following the war, Belgium underwent significant political changes. The experience of occupation and resistance galvanized the population, leading to a greater emphasis on human rights and social justice. The stories of those who fought against the Nazis became a rallying cry for various movements advocating for civil rights and equality. The enduring legacy of the escape from Saint-Gilles was woven into the fabric of these movements, serving as a reminder that collective action could lead to meaningful change. Moreover, the escape highlighted the importance of solidarity and cooperation among citizens. The networks of resistance that had formed during the occupation continued to influence social dynamics in post-war Belgium. Communities that had come together to support the resistance maintained their bonds, fostering a culture of mutual aid and support. This spirit of cooperation became a hallmark of Belgian society, influencing everything from grassroots activism to community organizing. The account of the milk deliveries and the escape from Saint-Gilles resonated far beyond the borders of Belgium. It served as an inspiration to resistance movements across Europe, a beacon of hope for those fighting against fascism and oppression. The audacity and success of the escape demonstrated that even the most formidable obstacles could be overcome with determination and ingenuity. In countries still grappling with the aftermath of occupation, the tale of the Saint-Gilles escape became a symbol of resilience. Resistance fighters in France, the Netherlands, and other occupied nations drew inspiration from the operation, using it as a model for their own efforts. The escape underscored the importance of local knowledge, community support, and the element of surprise lessons that would prove invaluable in subsequent resistance efforts. The enduring legacy of the escape also influenced post-war political discourse. The narratives of resistance and collaboration became central themes in the reconstruction of national identities across Europe. Countries sought to reconcile their wartime experiences, grappling with questions of complicity, heroism, and the moral complexities of resistance. The account of the milk deliveries provided a framework for understanding the nuances of these experiences, emphasizing the importance of collective action in the face of tyranny. As the decades passed, the account of the milk deliveries and the escape from Saint-Gilles continued to inspire. It became a symbol of hope and defiance, a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity. The legacy of this audacious operation endures, serving as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, courage and solidarity can prevail. In contemporary Belgium, the narrative of the Saint-Gilles escape is invoked in discussions about civil liberties, human rights, and the importance of standing up against oppression. The story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of complacency and the need for vigilance in the face of tyranny. It reminds citizens that Norway's fight for freedom is an ongoing struggle, one that requires active participation and unwavering commitment. The enduring legacy of the escape is also reflected in the annual commemorations held in Brussels and other cities across Belgium. These events draw together survivors, families of resistance fighters, and citizens eager to honor the memory of those who fought for freedom. They serve as a powerful reminder of the sacrifices made during the war and the importance of remembering history to inform the present. The escape from Saint-Gilles prison remains a defining moment in Belgian history, a testament to the resilience and bravery of those who dared to resist. It is a story that transcends time, inspiring generations to stand up against oppression and fight for justice. The enduring legacy of the milk deliveries endures, a beacon of hope for all who believe in the power of collective action and the unyielding spirit of humanity. As Belgium continues to navigate the complexities of modern society, the lessons learned from the escape serve as a guiding light. The account of the milk deliveries is not just a tale of the past, it is a call to action for the present and future. It reminds us that, in the face of adversity, we must stand together, united in our pursuit of freedom and justice for all.